Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive? Today we're looking at this interesting newsletter all about staying healthy during the summer, especially if you're dealing with Medicare.
And they really, they get right to it.
Oh yeah.
Summer's great and all, but it
Yeah,
comes with some risks.
definitely.
Heat and storms,
Uh-huh.
and this can be especially tough if you're older.
Absolutely. Especially for folks on Medicare, which is what this newsletter is all about.
Yeah, and it's not all doom and gloom.
Right.
They actually make it kind of fun.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, their slogan is, if you don't know what to do, better call Buckalew.
Yeah, see, they don't take themselves too seriously.
Exactly. But they do get serious about the important stuff, like staying hydrated.
Oh, yeah, that's like the number one
Right.
thing they emphasize.
Right. It's basic, but
Facial.
yeah. And they even go beyond just saying drink water.
Yeah, they get specific about things to avoid, like
Like what?
caffeine and alcohol.
Oh, yeah, those sneaky dehydrators.
Exactly, especially when it's hot out.
That's so true. I mean, I love my iced coffee in the summer, but maybe I need to rethink that.
It's worth considering, especially if you're spending a lot of time outdoors.
Which reminds me, they also talk about timing your outdoor activities, right?
Oh, yeah, like early mornings or evenings when it's not so scorching.
Makes total sense. Now, let's shift gears a bit to something a little more serious. Heat exhaustion versus heat stroke.
Okay, yeah, that's important to know the difference.
Definitely the newsletter does a great job of explaining the symptoms.
Like heat exhaustion, you'll feel weak and dizzy. Maybe you're sweating a lot.
Right.
But heat stroke,
That's serious.
you'll have a high fever. You might feel confused. Your pulse will be racing.
It's like they say, if you don't know what to do, better call Buckalew.
Yeah, in this case, you might need to call 911.
Exactly. Don't mess around with heat stroke.
Especially if you're older, it can be really dangerous.
Okay, so we've covered staying hydrated and recognizing those heat emergencies, but summer throws other curveballs too, like hurricanes.
Oh, yeah, the newsletter has a whole section on storm preparedness.
And it's not just the usual stuff like stocking up on water and batteries, though. That's important too.
Of course. But what really stood out to me was their emphasis on medication management during an emergency.
Yes, they actually recommend keeping a list of all your meds dosages, prescribing doctors, the whole 9 yards.
So if you have to evacuate or your pharmacy is closed, you're prepared.
Such a smart idea. I
Yeah.
mean, I've never really thought about that before.
And here's another thing. They mentioned something I didn't know about Medicare Part D.
Oh, yeah. Tell me more about that.
Apparently, it might cover emergency refills of your medications if you can't get them because of a disaster.
Wow. I had no idea. That's really good to know.
It is. It just shows that Medicare can really help out in unexpected situations, not just routine stuff.
So we've talked about staying hydrated, avoiding those sneaky dehydrators, being smart about outdoor activities, recognizing heat emergencies, and even some hurricane preparedness in those Medicare insights.
And we're just getting started.
Yeah, there's a lot more to cover in this newsletter.
Like how Medicare works in different emergencies and some community resources that can help, and even the mental and emotional side, staying safe during the summer.
So stick with us for part 2 of our deep dive. We'll be back with more summer safety wisdom.
This newsletter, it really goes beyond just the practical stuff.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued by what they have to say about Medicare and emergencies.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about Part D covering medications, but what about other situations, like if you need to go to the hospital?
Right. Well, they explain how Part A and Part B work in emergencies.
Okay.
So, like, if you get really sick from the heat and you need to be in the hospital,
Uh-huh.
that's where Part A comes in.
Gotcha. So it covers those hospital stays.
Exactly.
What about if you need an ambulance, but you don't end up staying in the hospital?
They address that too.
Okay.
Medicare Part B usually covers outpatient emergency services, so things like ambulance rides and ER visits.
That's really helpful to know. It's like having a safety net.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry as much about those unexpected costs.
Right now, the newsletter doesn't really focus on mental health, but they do touch on the emotional side of things,
You're right. It's kind of woven throughout.
like when they talk about checking in on your neighbors and building community.
Yeah, it's not just about physical safety. It's about having that support system.
Exactly. Just knowing you're not alone can make a huge difference, especially during a heat wave or a storm.
It's like having that backup,
Yeah.
someone to lean on.
Right. It's that sense of community that can really help you get through tough times.
And it brings up an interesting point. We've talked about preparing for the physical stuff, but what about emotional preparedness?
That's a really good question. How do you prepare for the emotional challenges of summer?
I think it starts with self-awareness, paying attention to what stresses you out and how you react.
That makes sense.
And then it's about finding healthy ways to cope, like meditation,
Nah.
spending time in nature, talking to loved ones, even just taking some deep breaths.
It's like building up a mental first aid kit.
Exactly. You have those tools ready when you need them.
And these are tools that you can use all year round, not just in the summer.
Absolutely. Life is full of surprises, and being emotionally resilient can help you deal with anything.
This newsletter, it really goes beyond just giving you a to-do list.
Right.
It's about taking control of your well-being in a holistic way.
I love that word holistic. It's not just about one aspect of your health. It's about the whole picture.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes this newsletter so valuable.
Well, before we wrap up, I have one final thought-provoking question for you.
We've covered a lot of ground, haven't we?
We have, from heat waves to hurricanes.
And everything in between.
It's all about being prepared.
Right. And not just physically.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to touch on again. We've talked about all the things you can do externally to stay safe. But what does staying safe really mean to you personally?
That's a good question. I guess for me, it's not just about avoiding danger.
Right.
It's about feeling secure. Like I have the resources and support to handle whatever comes my way.
That's a great way to put it. And it reminds me that health and wellness,
Yeah.
it's not just about following rules.
No, it's about so much more.
It's about living a life that feels good, a life that's aligned with what's important to you.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like we're expanding the definition of staying safe.
Yes, it's not just physical, it's mental, emotional, even spiritual.
It's about taking care of yourself in a holistic way.
And that's a powerful message to remember, not just for summer, but for life in general.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up our deep dive into summer safety,
Yeah.
I just want to remind everyone to stay hydrated, stay informed, stay connected,
And most importantly,
stay true to yourselves.
we'll be back with another deep dive soon, exploring a whole new topic.
Until then, stay safe, stay well, and keep those brains buzzing.